The investors featured on the television show Shark Tank are some of the smartest business people in the world, so it might come as a surprise that sometimes even they get it wrong. There are some deals that never got made, and some lowball offers that were just, well, never going to happen. From an online flower shop to sandals so thin it's like walking barefoot, to nuts for your laundry. These deals that weren't meant to be probably left the sharks wondering, what if? So here are 12 of the biggest Shark Tank deals they regret not taking. Number 12, Chef Big Shake. When Sean Davis, founder of the Chef Big Shakes, walked into the tank, he knew what he was getting himself into. Having been a cook since he was 12 years old, Davis was confident that his idea to sell high-quality frozen food, namely shrimp burgers, would make a killing. Davis was asking the Sharks for $200,000 in exchange for a 25% stake in his company. The Sharks weren't biting that day, and Sean Davis walked away without a deal. Soon after his appearance on Shark Tank, Davis received an investment of $500,000. Chef Big Shake was in over 800 stores just a week later. Davis's initial sales in 2011 were merely $30,000, which jumped to $5 million the following year. Mark Cuban has gone on record saying that passing on Chef Big Shake was one of his biggest regrets on the show. Number 11, COPA de VINO. Have you ever wished you could just buy one glass of wine when you're out and about instead of, well, a whole bottle? If you're anything like James Martin, then you have. Martin had the idea to try and do what so many before him couldn't, to perfect the packaging of a single-serve glass of wine. With his revolutionary technology, Martin felt he had a product that could be huge, and well, he wasn't wrong. After he was denied a deal by all of the Sharks, Martin went on to grow his company from $600,000 in sales to $5 million in sales in just 1 year. The Sharks didn't seem to learn their lesson. When Martin returned to the tank a year later, he still didn't receive a deal, even though he had grossed $12 million. The Sharks really didn't like Martin's personality, and that may have cost him the investment of a lifetime. Today, COPA de VINO is a multi-million-dollar company with distributors all over the world. Number 10, Eco Nuts. So, let's talk about soap nuts. What are soap nuts, you ask? Good question. Soap nuts aren't technically a nut, but more of a dried berry from the Himalayas. When you put them in your laundry, they get your clothes clean and soft. Founders of Eco Nuts, Mona Weiss and Scott Shields, entered the Shark Tank seeking $175,000 for a 15% stake in their company. Seeing as how their product is biodegradable, hypoallergenic, and, well, reusable, Weiss and Shields figured they couldn't lose. But boy, were they wrong. They received one offer of $175,000 for 50% of the company. The offer was declined and the duo walked away without a deal. Today, the company makes approximately $1 million annually. Number 9, Coffee meets Bagel. There are a ton of dating websites out there, everything from Match.com to eHarmony, but none have appeared on Shark Tank, except Coffee meets Bagel. Sisters Aram, Dawoon, and Sue Kang appeared in the tank to pitch their idea for a new dating website that would revolutionize how people meet. Their idea was to connect people with people that were already friends of friends. Makes the whole dating scene seem, well, a little less scary if you know the person you're meeting already knows a friend of yours. Their system for connecting people with people in common was groundbreaking stuff. The sisters were asking for $500,000 for a 5% stake in the company. The Sharks actually liked this idea, and Mark Cuban made the largest offer in the show's history, offering $30 million for full ownership of the entire company. Shockingly, the sisters declined Mark's offer. The project was so close to their hearts that they wanted it to remain in control and see it through. Soon after, the website's subscriber numbers soared into the millions. Number 8, XERO Shoes. XERO Shoes began when a husband and wife team, Steven Sashin and Lena Phoenix, realized that it was much more comfortable to run barefoot than with bulky sneakers on. They designed running sandals that would mimic the experience of running barefoot. The couple were looking for $400,000 for an 8% stake in the company. While the Sharks were impressed with the pitch, they were concerned with the materials that were used, as well as whether or not the people would actually wear such an odd piece of footwear. Only Kevin made an offer. He was willing to give them the money they wanted, but for a 50% stake in their company. Steven and Lena declined Kevin's offer and left the tank without a deal. After the show aired, they were able to raise $1 million in crowdfunding. A year after their episode appeared, the company had earned $2.5 million in 2015. Number 7. Echo Valley Meats. Meat connoisseur David Alwyn appeared on Shark Tank with his company, which would supply people with his perfectly seasoned, locally processed meats in a mail-order process. This type of home ordering had never been done before. The Sharks liked Alwyn's meat, however, they were unsure about Alwyn himself. Alwyn lacked a clear and concise business plan, and the Sharks were not confident that he could pull it all together to become successful. Alwyn left without a deal and continued to grow his business without the help of a shark. He managed to turn his sales from a measly $190,000 into a whopping $1.4 million. In a great case of things coming full circle, a few seasons later, Alwyn returned to Shark Tank and struck a deal with Mark Cuban. Number 6. HY-CONN, LLC. HY-CONN is the sort of company that revolutionizes something that hasn't been changed for much over time. Jeff Stroop took his product, a connector that would save critical minutes in attaching a fire hose to a hydrant, to the Shark Tank in the hopes that he would get a deal. Stroop's product was, well, the perfect combination of something that could make him a whole lot of money, but also help save people's lives. While the Sharks were impressed with Stroop's product, Mark Cuban was more interested in investing in the licensing of the design. Cuban didn't want to manufacture the product, but instead licensed the design to existing companies. Cuban offered Stroop $1.2 million and a deal of 3 years of guaranteed employment at a $300,000 guaranteed salary in exchange for the company. The other Sharks thought it was a lousy deal and told Stroop not to take it. They said Cuban was stripping Stroop of his whole life. In the end, Stroop did take the deal, but it fell through due to some complications, namely Mark Cuban's ego. Despite those hiccups, HY-CONN is now worth close to $5 million. Number 5. Scan. The founder of the mobile app Scan walked into the tank wearing a sweatshirt and flip-flops. Not really the first impression you want to make when trying to impress the Sharks. Garrett G says that he has this uniform when approaching potential investors because he wants them to see him for who he is. Well, he didn't need to impress them with his clothes. Product was impressive enough. G created a mobile app that would allow you to create and read QR codes from just about anywhere about just about anything. He came up with the idea when he received his first smartphone. G asked the Sharks for $1 million for a 5% stake in the company. After a very passionate pitch, one by one, each Shark declined his offer. G walked away empty-handed, but his story doesn't stop there. G went on to sell his company to Snapchat for the tune of $54 million. He and his wife sold all of their possessions, and with their 2 young daughters in tow, are checking things off their bucket list as they travel the world. I bet he's wishing he could go back and tell the Sharks to scan that. Number 4. Proof Eyewear. Proof Eyewear started out as a company for people who are eco-conscious. The frames are made from the most sustainable wood, as well as recycled and plant-based plastic. The frames were meant to be super eco-friendly. Once the owners and brothers, Brooks, Tanner, and Taylor Dame, entered the tank, it didn't take long before Kevin was willing to make them an offer. The brothers were hoping for $150,000 in exchange for 10% of the company. However, Kevin went a bit rogue and offered the $150,000, but for 25% stake. After a bit of discussion, the brothers countered with $200,000 for 20%, but Kevin wasn't feeling it. The brothers left without a deal, but have gone on to grow the business and currently make $2.5 million a year. Number 3. Coat CHEX. This one has to sting just a little. Derek Paquet created a new system for checking coats after he was fed up with having to find a place for his coat at bars and restaurants. The system he created would make it easy for any establishment to offer a quick place for patrons to check their belongings by matching the patron's face to a ticket number. Mark Cuban liked the idea, but made a lowball offer. He offered Paquet $200,000 for 33% of the company. Paquet had so much faith that his company could be huge, he turned down the offer and walked away. good thing he did too, because eventually CHEX expanded way beyond just bars and restaurants. Today, CHEX can be found at airports, sporting arenas, New York Fashion Week, and even the Super Bowl. The company is now a multi-million-dollar company, no thanks to the Sharks. Number 2. BOUQS Company. John Tabas decided that he would make a fortune if he could cut out the middleman of the flower selling industry. He created the BOUQS Company and began delivering flowers straight from farm to home. The Sharks thought the idea was a bit unheard of, and they felt that a 6-day delivery window was just too long. Not to mention, Barbara hated the name. Kevin believed it was just a flower shop with nothing special to set it apart. Needless to say, Tabas walked away without a deal. However, that was not the last that we would hear of the BOUQS Company. After appearing on the show, Tabas received an investment of $23 million from a small group of investors. Just a couple of years later, the company had grossed $43 million. Number 1. Doorbot. If only the Sharks had known what they were dealing with when they let Doorbot slip away. Doorbot owner Jamie Siminoff pitched his idea for a smart doorbell to the Sharks. He claimed the doorbell hadn't been redesigned since the 1800s. With his smart doorbell, homeowners could see who was at their door as well as speak to and hear the person without getting anywhere near the door. The idea was fantastic and the Sharks were definitely interested. Siminoff was seeking $700,000 for a 10% stake in his company. He was offered the $700,000 for 5% plus royalties into the infinite future. Siminoff declined the offer, and today, Doorbot, better known as Ring, is one of the most popular and most purchased smart doorbells on the market. What would you have offered some of these entrepreneurs if you were a Shark? Which product success do you think stings the Sharks the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one.